I want to bring in our panel. Joining us now, Jillian, Melchior, Huey-Burns is back with us. Cathy Taylor joins, and Tammy Bruce is staying with us. Let me go to you first, Cathy. What do you make of it overall? Did you think he answered some questions that may have been out there before he started?
I think he certainly did. Look, Trump has learned that you don't get a free get-out-of-jail card anymore once you get to this level of being a presidential candidate with regard to making misstatements. And so previous statements that he may have made without meaning to insult anybody about being neutral or anything like that, he quickly nipped in the butt with his opening statement, which showed humility, saying, you know, I'm new to politics, but I'm not new to being a friend of Israel.
So you felt clearly after listening to this that if America negotiated, it was in the middle of a negotiation between both parties, it would be clear that we were on the side of Israel.
I think he made his support for Israel clear, and he cleared up any ambiguity about that.
To me, it was pretty interesting because the overall focus on this speech was Iran, first and foremost, then the United Nations, and a few hits at Hillary and Obama, which, by the way, didn't get the biggest applause, but what do you make of that, Caitlin, that he sort of shifted away from the notion of, hey, this is about Israel and Palestine. Let's talk about Iran, who seems to be at the center of it all.
Sure, and it's a popular position among not only his audience, but also the Republican base. And I do think that, you know, we've talked before about how Trump does learn from past mistakes, and I think his closing line here, he didn't mention neutrality at all. In fact, he said Palestine needs to come to the table. I think that really underscored kind of how he's
all the things that he's talking about with respect to Iran. Can we pull it off? Iran is a big, powerful nation. The European countries are eager to do business there. They already started selling products there. Can we make them the villain once again in an atmosphere where the rest of the world seems eager to do business with them?
Well, I think among the Republican Party, I think that is a winning line. I think you talk to a lot of Republican voters, and they agree with that. All of the candidates have been pretty much in line with that kind of no gray area.
Big applause, Jillian. And the American Embassy is going to be moved to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem. He had a lot of points where the crowd really was into it.
He did, and I think that was because he was saying the right things. But I did notice that throughout the speech, again and again, he's got this verbal tick, believe me. And the problem is, I just don't believe him. If you look at the rest of his day, he was at the Washington Post this morning laying out his foreign policy. It was a policy of isolationism. He wants to speak loudly and carry a small stick. And the example of that is Ukraine. This is a country that has been invaded by his buddy Putin, and he's actually telling the Washington Post on the same day that he wants us to believe he'll be a steadfast supporter of Israel that we should back off Ukraine. I don't know how anyone can believe him on this.
Tammy, for the most part, Donald Trump stuck with the script. There was one point toward the end, he says, one way or the other, we'll get it solved. And that kind of gets back to some Trump supporters will say he doesn't want to lay out his game plan all the way, but other critics will say he's still not quite sure how to get the job done.
Really, frankly, unless you're the president in the White House, you probably don't have enough details to be able to make a decision and a statement about exactly what's going to happen. You've got to have that background. You've got to know exactly what's going on. You've got to be briefed. So we know what he wants to do. We have a general sensibility of the direction, and I think that he's overall, I think, naturally limited in exactly the details that he can give. Do you agree?
I do, and
You've been in the White House.
And not only that, but how many leaders have tried to solve this and haven't been able to?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Yeah,
you know, I think for Trump, he's come a long way in showing some specific, concrete proposals that he stands behind, and that's a big step from where he was.
By the way, Tech is going to be speaking
to the voters.
And we want to get it. It's going to be great to watch the juxtapose the responses to both of those speeches back to back. Hey, real quick, I want to go out there. Ford O'Connell. Ford?
You know, here's the deal. Here's the deal with Trump. He's trying to overcome the perception that his foreign policy IQ is only an inch deep and he's all bluster. I think today he accomplished two things. One, he's pro-Israel, and one, he can actually learn on the fly. Because remember, tomorrow morning this speech is going to be in newspapers throughout Israel, and to him, that's who he's talking to. So overall, I think this is a success, but he has a lot more to grow on.
Well, what part, real quick, would you say he had to grow on? What?
Well, you got to understand, that's why he's hitting Iran early and often, because that's the him that he can go to. He's going to have to become more fluid over time, as Waleed Perez pointed out earlier today. He understands that he can dance this Iran thing so long, but he's going to have to go further. And there's other issues out there, as other people on the panel noted.